This is twice. I ran into the mayor last night at Coham.
Hey, y'all just hanging out.
We are.
Yeah.
We're pals. We pal around.
Your romance is back on?
Well, it was interesting to me how the closer I got, the more he backed up. But we were just talking about morning radio show guys and people we know, and I said an integral part of the day is that afternoon nap. And I'm stunned to hear that the mayor of Shreveport doesn't take time.
Little siesta?
For an afternoon nap. Haven't any of your predecessors, when you took over from Mayor Hightower almost 8 years ago, didn't you guys, you said to him, where's the sofa?
Well, I heard some used to nap during the council meetings. But I tried not to do that.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of them nod off.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
I'm not going to name names, but yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I've seen them nod off.
Mayor Cedric Glover joins us. Shreveport Mayor Cedric Glover in studio this morning. Kick us off.
Big shots in town. The U.S. Transportation Secretary and the State Secretary. What's going on? How'd you get them here? What's the deal?
Well, actually, this is an initiative that was started by Secretary of Transportation Anthony Fox. Anthony is former mayor of the city of Charlotte and has taken on the responsibility of leading the Department of Transportation under the Obama administration since former Secretary Ray LaHood decided not to continue through the second term. Obviously, he recognizes that there are tremendous infrastructural challenges across this country, and he wants to be able to draw some attention and focus to that by going on this tour, 8 states in 5 days, and hopefully it's going to end up getting us some focus, some attention, and hopefully some movement and some action before it's all said and done.
I had seen in the press release 8 states, 5 days. He'll be accompanied not only with you today, but DOTD Secretary Sherry LaBaugh, right?
Yes, Sherry LaBaugh will be coming up from Baton Rouge.
Why is Shreveport on the list of the stops?
Well, I'd like to think that because maybe we've helped to draw some attention to some of our issues and challenges here in this region. And Secretary Fox is a former mayor, someone I had a chance to get to know in his capacity as mayor of the city of Charlotte. And I've spent some time bending his ear over the last few years about what our issues and challenges as well as what our opportunities are here. Right. And so he decided to put this together, and we ended up, I think, being just about the next to the last stop because we'll end up wrapping it up a little bit later over in Dallas.
You're pretty candid, and I'm going to go back to you and I talked a week or so ago about I-49 in the inner city. Have you had a chance to look at some of the numbers in that economic study yet?
Haven't drilled down into it very deeply yet, but again, as I said to you that day, to tell me that you got a study that says there's going to be almost $1 billion worth of economic impact for 3 miles of interstate with one interchange. I find that very hard to believe, but I am looking forward to being able to get fully immersed into it so I can be more conversant on that issue. But I think the bigger issue and the bigger conversation has to be around what our priorities are. One of the reasons as to why the Secretary is coming to town is to highlight the fact that we are not generating the revenue at the federal level to spend on the infrastructure that we need to, just on the maintenance, much less talking about new projects. A great example of which is that this 33 miles of interstate that we're in the process of completing right now, the most important project that we've had for the last several decades, deviates from what has been the established state to federal funding ratio that goes all the way back to 1956 when the federal interstate system program started under the Eisenhower administration, where 80% of the funding came from the federal government and 20% came from the states. In the case of the last 33 miles of I-49 North, that ratio is 60-40. Now, I thought the 60 initially was the federal government and the 40 was us.
It's not.
It's not. It's 40% from the federal government and 60% has come from the state of Louisiana as well as local sources as well.
And Louisiana doesn't have as much money anymore.
Louisiana does not have nearly as much money.
Nobody has as much money anymore.
You travel to Dallas. You have to hear this. When you come from Texas and you hit those Louisiana roads, it's different.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Why?
You don't need an alarm clock when you're riding from Dallas if you sleep as a passenger in a vehicle to let you know you've gotten home.
You going to talk to him about it?
Well, we've been talking about it.
Okay.
But I mean that's a problem for us in Louisiana that goes back obviously decades. It's a part of the Louisiana way, unfortunately, that many of us in this day and time are still paying for. And so part of what we have to have a commitment to in this present time is doing things differently, doing them smarter, and doing them better.
Your phrase was, I'll have have the chance to bend the ear of Secretary Fox today. Can you give us any insight into what do you say and how what you say could benefit the city?
Well, it'll be making sure that he has a full appreciation for some of the priorities and challenges that we have here from an infrastructure standpoint. And I think the biggest thing that he's trying to do is to help draw attention to the fact that there's a need for action, and that action needs to come not just from the administration that's in D.C., but also from the Congress that's in D.C. We're right now with a federal transportation bill that's about to expire. We haven't done anything with regard to how we fund federal highway transportation projects since 1993. Last time we did that, it apparently cost a lot of folks in Congress their jobs. At least that's the perspective that many people have. So that's not been much that's been done. The 18.4 cents per gallon that the federal government collects on gasoline tax right now hadn't changed in those 21 years. And when you think about what the price of gas was in 1993 compared to the $3.50 that most of us are paying right now, and I think that you're still generating the same amount per gallon, it just doesn't make much sense if you expect to have the resources necessary to be able to address the challenges that we have as a country. And so if we want to see these things change, if we want to be able to have a conversation about what we need to do about the inner city portion, about what we do about I-69, about what we do with the extension of Louisiana 3132, those things only become relevant if we have the resources at the federal level and at the state level to be able to do something about them.
You had mentioned that you wanted to relate to Secretary Fox the needs and priorities for Shreveport. What are those in your opinion?
Well, that's one of the conversations that we're in the midst of having right now. The easy thing that we've had for the last 20 plus years is when you ask anybody from Shreveport, Bossier, Northwest Louisiana, what is our number one highway priority? That was always very easy to identify because we were one of the few states that did not have a true north-south interstate system. We had I-49 from Shreveport to Lafayette, and then it kind of got here and stopped. We've worked very hard, and I have to give a great deal of that credit to former Congressman Jim McQuarrie, who got us the biggest single chunk of this funding, $200 million, as a bad word now in D.C., earmark for I-49 about a decade ago. And so now we've managed to be able to get that portion fully funded. We've hooked it and scrapped it and pasted it together with baling wire and bubble gum. And so now that we know that that's going to happen, the next question is, what's next? For some folks, they think that's the inner city section. For other folks, they think it's I-69. For other folks, they think it's the extension of 3132. But that's a conversation that we need to be in the process of having. Some think it's another bridge across the Red River at Jimmy Davis. But that's something that we, as Shreveporters, as folks from Bossier City, Northwest Louisiana, we need to be having that conversation right now, see if we can't come up with some consensus. So just like with I-49 North, we can get on the same page and put the energy behind it that's necessary in order to help make it happen. But if we also realize it's taken 20 years to get these 33 miles of highway funded. And so these are not things that are going to happen overnight, especially if we end up not sending the revenue necessary to make it happen to both Baton Rouge and to Washington.
A couple of other subjects. The fire department scandal. Grand jury is apparently meeting. There's allegations that Chief Mulford may have ordered an FBI investigator off of the city property. Can you tell us what you know about it? Anything about the investigation from the city?
Yeah, I'm going to start by telling you that there's no better or greater fire department anywhere in the world than the Shreveport Fire Department, filled with men and women every day who get up and go out and put their lives on the line. We've got some issues right now that are under investigation. We're going to allow those investigations to go forward, and we're going to follow the facts where they go and allow those things to be resolved in the proper venues where they need to be addressed and resolved. But I'm not going to contribute to it by adding rumor or innuendo or what have you. But have no doubt that I have great faith in the men and women who populate this department. Chief Mulford has been a great chief. Chief Crawford before him, outstanding as well. They all follow the tradition of Dallas Green, and I'm delighted to have had the opportunity to have worked and to have served with them, and we look forward to them continuing to serve the folks.
Have you been subpoenaed?
No, I have not.
Do you know if the chief has?
I do not know that.
Okay. One more. Big meeting, Community Foundation, regarding domestic violence. We have to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Do you have some possible solutions? The Providence House is no longer going to have their safe house. Where are we headed here?
Well, this has been, I guess, one of my big causes of concern. I'm kind of like the kid from Mad Magazine, what me worry. But this is one that has me extremely worried because the idea that we could end up putting families at risk is something that is just simply absolutely unacceptable to me. And I'm glad now that Paula Hickman at the Community Foundation has taken the lead role in calling together not just the city of Shreveport, because this facility doesn't serve just Shreveport. It serves all of Northwest Louisiana. And we met on Tuesday with representatives from my office, Lo Walker's office from Bossier, the sheriff, the police, the DAs, nonprofits, folks from all around this area to come up with a solution. And the one thing that's absolutely clear is that the folks from the Providence House have got to stay on this wall, carry this burden, and execute this duty until we can figure out an effective transition. Because the one thing that is absolutely unacceptable in the state that leads the country in the highest number of domestic violence-related homicides. I mean, to think that we've had 3 of the lowest years of homicides ever in the history of the city of Shreveport in the last 3 years. But at the same time, this state still leads the country in domestic violence-related homicides is unacceptable. So they've got to stay on the job until we figure out how to effectively transition. And we're working on that now.
Shreveport Mayor Cedric Glover is joining us this morning. Do you have other agencies that are stepping up to the plate, or will Providence House continue to remain open?
Well, it's my expectation that Providence House is going to stand, as I told Simone Hennessy, you're like that little Dutch boy who has his finger in the levee. You may not want to be there. You may be tired. You may be ready to go. It may not be a winning proposition for you, but we don't have an option right now until we figure out what to do about it. So you got to stay there. You got to hold your finger in place, and you're going to stay in this capacity until we figure out how we move to a better solution. Because telling people that at a certain date we'll no longer accept people who need sheltering, and that at a certain date we're going to have all those folks that we are sheltering will have to go someplace else is simply not acceptable.
Shreveport Mayor Cedric Glover, thank you for joining us this morning.
One more
thing. Go ahead.
You want to run for Congress?
I'm mayor of the city of Shreveport right now. And I've got a job to do.
He's got this speech out.
I've got a job to do.
You know she stole my question. In lieu of that, I have another question. Well, it's not really a question. When you're with DOTD Secretary LaBasse today, would you do me a favor?
Sure.
And I think, well, it's not that I'm not an LSU fan, but could you please tell her that painting the Jimmy Davis Bridge purple is the worst idea in the history of ideas?
Oh, you're an idiot. It'll be beautiful.
Well, now, let me tell you this. I'm finally delighted that Secretary LaBasse and DOTD is starting to pay some attention to the needs to improving the quality of the aesthetics of our highway infrastructure.
I'm not sure purple improves the aesthetics.
Whether it's purple, red, or green, the one thing that we have is some of the ugliest roads, and not only some of the worst, but we also have some of the ugliest.
You bet.
And so when you look at Louisiana, Shreveport in particular, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and compare how our highways and our interstates look in comparison to the ones in Texas and other places around the country where they've taken advantage of the opportunity to put in various things that make them almost works of art, it's sad that we have all that we have. That's one thing that we're correcting with regard to the portion that's coming into the city with I-49. There's going to be some of what you see in Dallas and in San Antonio and other places in terms of how they've gone about adding some aesthetic features to that road infrastructure that will be added there. We need to do more of it across the state. Whether it's painted purple or not, I don't know. But
have you voted?
No, I haven't.
I have 11 times. Not nearly enough. Mayor Glover, thank you so much for joining us.